Yeah, did you not?
Hello, welcome. We're 1847, the TaCodeCats. We're a neighborhood team from Eagan, Napa Valley, and thank you for coming to our presentation. You're at an FTC tournament, and you have your presentation in 5 minutes, but you are lost and don't know where your room is. Luckily, a volunteer is just passing by.
Do you know where room
C322 is? Yeah, so you're gonna go 35 yards to the left, and then on your southwest side, you're gonna find a hallway. You're gonna go down that hallway, and then on your starboard side, you'll find the door. I hope that was helpful, but I may have on there. Bye.
Wait, okay, what does starboard mean? How am I gonna find the classroom now?
This is exactly why good communication is crucial everywhere, especially in FTC. Today we will talk about how to communicate with judges, companies, other teams, on the playing field, and even in your own team. First off, does everyone know what outreach is? Does anyone not know what outreach is? Okay. So we're going to start off with a video from our teammate who wasn't able to come today. So say hello to Katie.
Had plenty of experience with. We'll start off with a topic that we've had plenty of experience with. Presenting. Wow, what a shocker. Knowing how to present is a big part of FTC and a big part of life. We'll help you understand how to make your presentation sound confident, convincing, and crisp. Not confusing, or crowded. Or confusing. The first tip is to have all members share during the presentation. Having one person share makes it sound like they did all the work. Everybody on your team knows more about one topic than anybody else. Have them share about the parts that they know about. For example, my main role on the team is working on the engineering portfolio, so I usually share about that in our presentations. Having everyone on different topics will also make memorization and script writing easier. Next, if you sound confident, you'll be confident. The main part is knowing your content. Memorizing a script can be great. Having everything planned out word for word is wonderful and can make for a very great way to know what you're saying. But it can cause you to not know how to improvise if you mess up. That's why knowing your content super well will help you be more confident in your words. Practice over and over and research your topic until you drop. Assigning people to present about their topics is also a great way to make this easier. Finally, we'll discuss body language. One thing you should do when presenting or talking to someone is look them directly in the eye. Kind of a hypocrite here since I'm looking into a camera, but I know it can be nerve-wracking. It really helps you look professional and get your point across better. Another tip is not fidgeting or swaying around. Again, I understand it can be very hard when you're nervous, but staying still looks much better. If you're unable to keep still, try having everyone put their hands behind their back when they're not speaking. This will look more professional and gives you a little bit of leeway to fidgeting behind your back. It looks uniform too. If you look at my team members, you can see some have their hands behind their back right now. If you look behind me, you probably also see some fidgeting. Also, try moving your arms around when you're speaking to express yourself. This will help you not just fidget in front of them.
Thank you, Katie, for that amazing video. Our next topic will be interacting with judges. Now, interacting with judges might seem scary, but it's one of the greatest opportunities to promote your team. And at FTC, at every tournament, you'll give a 5-minute presentation to a panel of judges. Additionally, if you are nominated for any awards, you might receive a pit visit too. These are the best opportunities to get your team noticed and nominated for some awards. There are several things you can do to enhance your presentation. One of those things is visual aids. Visual aids allow you to connect what you're saying to a visual representation, making it easier for the judges to understand you. For example, when our team is talking about our robot in a presentation, we will move around parts of it to demonstrate the mechanics we are talking about. Some other visual aid ideas are poster boards, handouts, and prompts. Knowing your stuff is also very important. This way you can account for any mistakes you might make or any tricky questions the judges might ask. The more you know your stuff, the more confident your team will appear. Next, letting every member talk is important. FTC is supposed to be a team activity, not a leader with a bunch of followers. When every team member talks, it shows a united and equal team, which is important to First's core values. But probably the most important thing you can do is to find a way to set your team apart. Fun gimmicks are a great way to do this. For example, last year, at the start of our presentation, we spun around and introduced ourselves. This is a great way to lighten the mood and also get the judges' attention. You don't want to just give a boring, basic presentation. The more interesting you make it, the better it will be.
Okay. Why did you guys both turn off the microphone?
Okay. Now from interacting with judges to interacting with companies, let's move on to introducing teams to companies. Some of you guys may think talking to companies may not be that very helpful, but it's a great chance to gain sponsorship and also learn about different jobs. The best way to reach companies is through email. Having a personal connection to an employee will make it a lot more alluring for them to meet you. Even if you don't have a personal connection to a company, don't be afraid to reach out. After you have first connected with a company, one of the best ways to connect to set up meeting when reaching out to companies, you want to think of yourself as a salesperson for First. You need an answer. The questions of why this company should care about First and why they should care about your team. Thinking with companies may seem scary at first. It's a great way to get started in your season, to prepare for your meeting. Your team should also prepare for a presentation for the company, whether it's a live presentation, a video, or slides. At the beginning of your presentation, you should introduce your team and teammates, and continue on with your accomplishments and the hopes for the future. When you're nearing the end of your presentation, let them know you're looking for a sponsorship, or in plain words, money. Although, don't say money directly. That seems like you don't want to talk to them and you're there just for the dough. A good tip is also to be over-prepared and under-prepared. So if you can't hit every single thing you prepared, that's fine. You still promoted your team to the company. Now back to Katie, who made another amazing video for us.
Remember I said I mainly talked about the engineering portfolio? Here it is. Communicating through your portfolio is one of the most important ways you connect with judges. It documents who your team is and all of the work you put in throughout the season. That being said, there are some things you should absolutely include, if you can afford to space that. Number one is a team intro and individual introductions. A team intro is required, but having individual introductions to your team members is great as well. It helps the judges get to know who you are as a person and what you're like. Additionally, you should try to add something that makes your team stand out. For example, last year we added a poem about aeronautics.
Thank you, Katie. Next, let's move on to reaching out to other FTC teams. Reaching out to other FTC teams is a great opportunity to learn new things,
and also boost your outreach experience. You can reach out to other teams by first stalking them on the internet, and then emailing them or messaging them on Instagram, which leads to our first tip. We strongly suggest that you and your team get social media. It's another amazing chance to connect with other teams while also seeing what teams are up to. Making your account and then following a lot of other FTC teams will give you the chance that they'll follow you back. Use your account to make regular updates and support the other teams on Instagram. During the season, try to set up meetings with teams. Set up meetings with teams that you would genuinely like to meet with. Maybe they're like an awesomely cool team with like amazing outreach, or they could just be like a really cool team name. Before the meeting, try to come up with a list of questions for them to ask. It'll make it a lot less awkward when you actually meet them, because one time we didn't do that, would not recommend. Now let's talk about talking on the field.
Communicating during the game relies on talking with the team you're working with beforehand. Before the game, you should talk them and make sure you will be able to run your robots smoothly together. Do things like check that your autonomous is run together and you won't crash. You should also decide on a strategy for how you guys are going to work together to win. Decide who's going to focus on which game elements. You might need to communicate with other team while on the field as well, especially if something goes wrong. When that happens, you shouldn't be afraid to talk to them. Just make sure you aren't being a distraction. Remember that you deserve to be up there as much as they do, even though they might be an amazing team that you super duper look up to. Once you're on the field, the main people you will be communicating with are the two other people on your drive team. You should aim to be clear and concise when communicating during the game. Another important thing for the drive coach is don't get stressed out and keep calm, even if something is not horribly wrong. Don't get angry and talk clearly and calmly. This is because you don't want to take up a lot of time when telling a teammate something. Try to make it even smoother by agreeing upon words or short phrases beforehand, i.e. up to move your robot's arm upwards or on your left if there's a game key on your left. The reason you should decide on these beforehand is because otherwise they won't be very helpful. Imagine if you were a driver and your teammate keeps saying right to you. That wouldn't be very helpful because it could mean a whole variety of things. Maybe they want you to turn your robot right, or move your robot's arm to the right, or maybe there's a robot on the right, or maybe a game piece on the right, or maybe they're simply congratulating you. There's so many options for what this could mean. And if you're on the drive team coach, you should also keep track of the time for your drivers. You should check beforehand when your drivers want the time, and this makes it vary throughout the game depending on what they're doing. 2 is be clear if you're stating the amount of time that is passed or the amount of time that is left in the game.
From communicating out in the field to in-team communication, which often is a section that gets overlooked, but it is a form of communication that can take your team to the next level. First, you need to make a platform for communication outside of meetings. Our team uses Slack, which is a work communication app. Some other platforms that you can use are Discord, email, Google Chats, Zoom, and text messaging. This way you can arrange meetings and assign tasks to work on. You should also make a team calendar to keep track of upcoming meetings and events. If team members are unable to come to meetings, make sure to update them on what they missed. This way, every team member will know exactly what is going on. While communicating with your team online is important, if you can't communicate with your team in person, your season won't be very successful. When working on problems, it's good to work out a system you can use to make decisions for your team. And don't be afraid to compromise or try one or more solutions. In FTC, you will constantly fail and try new things. But most importantly, have fun with your teammates. An FTC team is like a friend group, and over time you will become very close to your teammates. Don't forget to connect with the rest of your team and learn more about each other. It'll make it so much more fun and rewarding.
Now on to why you should promote first. And it's a great way to get people involved in this amazing program. And it's also a good outreach opportunity for your team to experience and for judging points. You could set up a summer camp or attend a fair. One tip is to aim your event at younger children, 5th to 6th graders, because they are more likely to be interested in enjoying first. When you presentate about first, make sure you have an interesting presentation. Some good visuals would be things like showing them your robot, maybe driving around for them, or if you really want to show off that.
Let them drive your robot.
Yeah, basically. Okay. Having a video tournament or pictures of team meetings is another good visual to have, because it shows them some of the most fun parts of FTC. The best way to interest kids is to provide basic information and direct their parents to the first website. Another tip is try not to overwhelm your audience with all the responsibilities that they will have to take on. We aren't saying to lie to them about FTC and say that it's a breeze, but talk about the positive parts as well. For an example, tournaments and bonding with your team. Besides that, just be yourself. Don't try to scare them off.
As an overview of everything we just talked about, we went over ways to communicate with people in the FTC community, how to communicate with people outside of the FTC community, and most importantly, how to communicate communicate within your own FTC team. So that was a lot of information, so let's go over the some most important points. First, don't be afraid to communicate with people in general. It's essential for FTC and also a good life skill in general. If you're ever nervous about meeting someone, chances are that they're also nervous to meet you unless it's a job interview. Secondly, always prepare before any presentation so you're never going in blind. And lastly, in FTC, have fun. It's a learning experience for everybody, so if you make a mistake, laugh it off and keep trucking. Thank you guys all for attending this session of Communicating in the FTC. We hope you learned lots of new things, and we wish you and your team luck for the upcoming season. Now it's question time. Does anyone have any questions for us? Okay. If you don't, you guys can also just use the skills we taught you today to walk around and introduce yourself to other teams in the room.
Don't be a quiet group, because that's just sad. Clap us on.